Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It's really awesome to have you all here. Before we start, we're going to have a moment of silence for the Ultimate Warrior. Can I stop? Is that it?
That's long enough.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay, welcome to the panel, The Audacity of Hype. We're going to be talking about social media and branding yourself or a brand and stuff like that. So if this isn't your panel, stay anyway. We're giving away stuff.
No, we're not.
Yeah, what's the hashtag, guys? What's the...
Hype, PAX hype, just hashtag
PAX hype, anything hype, all caps, whatever. Just
hype.
Yo, get
go.
hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Hype.
Woo, Rock Band 4.
I don't have a microphone.
You're doing okay.
I'm doing great.
All right, so to get started, I've been talking enough already. My name is Jake Baldino. I work on YouTube. I run a channel with my friends called Pretty Much It. And I also do a channel called Because Video Games. I'm really proud of that name. And I pretty much pretend to be Adam Sessler. That's kind of what I do. What, too soon? What is that like?
but with such nice hair.
Thank you, Dave. To my right, we have Dan Hevia, former social media guy for Sprint, like the phones. Wow, you got it right.
5 Sprint customers in the audience.
That's the nicest anyone has ever been to
On
me
that
when they
Boost
found
Mobile.
out I was working with Sprint.
He also owns and runs Project510.com. It's a pretty new gaming website. It's pretty good. He's also really cool. Look at that picture. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? God.
Hulkamania.
To my right, we also have Dave Oshry. He is the director of marketing for Gunnar Optics. I don't know if you guys know that. I don't know if he told you. He probably has. He's also the CEO of New Blood. They make games, and he's one of the guys behind the awesome new Rise of the Triad. He's also really cool. I mean, look at that. That's Lady Gaga. Like, really.
I tried.
She's so much taller.
To my left, Stan Press, formerly a marketer for Astro Gaming, and now he heads up marketing for Elgato, the game capture devices that many of you probably use. And then to my right again, the man without the microphone, John Drake. Woo! He is the director of publishing and PR for Harmonix, and I think Rock Band 4 was just announced. Is that like a thing?
Yeah, Rock Band 4. Round of applause, Rock Band 4. It's official.
Yeah!
Just the worst. Just the worst.
And to my left, we have the legendary Dan Amrich. He is a veteran guy of the games industry media, and he was a former community manager for Activision. You probably might know him as One of Swords. And now he is a community developer for Rocksmith with Ubisoft. Flanked all the way at the end, last but not least, Jeff Rubenstein, social media manager who started the PlayStation blog, and now he works for Xbox as head of marketing for Xbox. Yeah. No big deal.
Holy shit.
They saw that picture and they just had to have me.
That picture is pro.
Damn. That's a handsome man.
So let's get started. We're a loosey-goosey type of guys, so we're just gonna, go. Branding yourself versus branding a brand. I think this is probably one of the more important things.
Prince on the corner. Sorry, go ahead.
You're like a commercial. Look at you. So, operating and building under your name or your brand name. We're all different with that, where we lie. Personally, I roll under my own name, and that's kind of my brand. But some of you guys in the past have represented companies, and you have to operate differently. Dave.
You have to operate differently.
He was
when
tweeting.
you're Representing.
He was
brand.
tweeting, so that's good. This is what you should do.
Yeah, social media, hype. We're doing hype, right? Hype, that's what we're here for?
We're talking about branding yourself. I think you're a good example of making yourself this kind of hub for a lot of things.
Yeah, when you represent brands, like for me personally, I'm always trying to working with brands that like I don't have a problem like owning it. Like as you can see, like I don't just work for Gunnar. Like I'm 24/7. I've got the things on my face, and I'm trying to get them on other people's faces because I love them. It's a cool product. Some people aren't about that. They try to separate their personal from their social, and that's okay. But if you own it and the brands that you work with, you can make it a bigger thing. You know, you can be a part of what your brand is, and therefore it's mutually beneficial both ways. I think John's also another good example of that because it's hard to people don't they think harmonics, they think John harmonics.
It's unfortunate.
And it's it's hard to put yourself out there all the time and just be like, okay, this is my thing. People are going to come and ask me about this all the time. But you'll be better for it if you're willing to take that plunge. At least that's what I've found. I don't know if any of you other guys think yes or no. Like, do you like to keep it separate or, kind of go all in?
There's no such thing as keeping it separate. Yeah. Even if you think you do, there's a great point of that second bullet point there. You can put whatever kind of disclaimer you want on your Twitter account, and it will be immediately disregarded as soon as you say something even remotely controversial. You will be associated with the company that you work for, and if you say something bad, they're held accountable too. So there is no separation at all.
Yeah, if you're one of those people that has tweets do not represent employer on your Twitter bio, just take it off, or it doesn't mean shit.
Add something mocking to the end of it. Like I think mine says doesn't represent my employer or my upbringing.
Yeah, my tweets do not represent the WWE.
Yeah,
something like that.
Well,
sometimes.
They all do.
Now, when your brand is taken over by something like another company, for example, Disney, how does that change you? What's different for you?
it doesn't change me at all. So we're making a game for Disney called Fantasia Music Evolved. We are the developer on that game. They're the publisher. They're a great, huge, multi-billion-dollar media company, and they're giving us a heritage IP. And all of my tweets or conversations related to Fantasia are super PG and friendly, and also I try to be generally friendly because the internet doesn't need me to be vitriolic about happy, fun motion games. Why be a dick about it? But it's my personal Twitter account, and they are happy to have me talk to the followers that I have about my game and talk with the authentic Harmonix voice, because they know that core gamers probably are more familiar with Harmonix than Disney when it comes to games that they're releasing, except for maybe Infinity, which is slowly taking over. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think that they're pretty smart about understanding that we talk to people like we're people at Harmonix, and we've been really strong about building a bunch of different dudes as and ladies as faces of the company, because we're developers and humanizing what we do at video games companies is really important to talk to fans and make them know hey, when you rage tweet at Rock Band because there isn't a Rock Band 4 right now, I have to read that, and I might come back to you on my personal account and say hey, don't be an asshole, I have to read this vitriol all day. And on Fantasia, I would say hey, don't be mean, which is a similar thing.
Don't be a mean poop.
We asked for brand guidelines or tweet guidelines, and they didn't really have anything firm. They said do what you think is right. The Disney voice and the Disney brand, and try to work with that. So they're pretty reasonable dudes, and you just got to own what you are. On the internet, I am a semi-caustic person sometimes when it comes to people attacking things I like, but otherwise I try to be really friendly and nice. So just be like that.
Stan, you as well. You're you can kind of serve the role of tech support a lot. I'm sure you.
Oh yeah, especially when you make video game accessories, people will always follow me asking for free product tech support or sponsorship, and usually I only say yes to the tech support. At that point, you can't separate that. People will contact you directly because they see that you represent the brand, and I made the choice. You know what? People are going to do it anyway. I might as well help them out because that makes me a good employee. That makes me good at what I do, and that brings value to the brand. I do have to be a little more careful, especially when someone asks me for tech support. Sometimes I don't want to get into a 30-tweet thread about it. Not a lot of fun, and then people get annoyed watching it. Then I get annoyed too.
How do you separate that? Is there times where you have to refer to email this or go on this site?
Most of it I'll say, hey, contact your customer support. Figure that out there. If you have any issues, contact me directly, the case number, and I'll bump it up if I need to. I try to really represent all parts of the company, because as a marketer, we cover everything. Yeah. Whether it's social, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's customer support, social's part of that. You can't escape it, so you might as well be good at it.
And it's an all-day thing. There's no getting away from it. If somebody's going to ask you a question at 3 a.m., try as me white, we're going to get up and we're going to answer. We're going to answer the question. Because if you're not legit, people see right through it. But in games and tech, if you don't have a legitimate voice with your brand, they're gonna think you're a robot. You're a marketer. You're there to try and sell them something, which you are at the end of the day. But you're trying to do it in a legit way. And they'll see right through that if you're full of shit. And there's no escaping it. And if you're into it, you don't want to. You love helping. I spend at least 2 to 3 hours a day just answering people's questions about stuff, and then I go to work. You got to do it.
I think a really important thing is to have empathy with the person that's writing to you. They might be angry. If someone tweets at me with tech support questions, then it's clear to me that they must be having enough of a problem and also don't know where they can get better tech support, which would be at Xbox support. And so it's tempting to just be like, look, that's not my job. But if you're representing the company, you have to think, all right, this person might not know that exists. And you've got to be patient, you've got to be understanding, but then also guide them to where they can get that help down the line. Because otherwise you can go down a rabbit hole, and I'm not equipped or as well equipped as our support team, which is like world class, to be able to help them out. So point them in that way. I really hope it works out. Let me know if it doesn't, because I want to know it at that point, and then maybe can help from down the line.
Well, the biggest thing you're touching on there is that you still represent your company whenever you're online, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And we all work in jobs that we love. I love the brands that I've worked for and then I work for now. And that means I want to help people no matter what. Whether it's a question for sponsorship, I point them to the contact forms. Whether it's customer support, I help them to our customer support line. Whatever it may be, I'm responsible for that because I work there. It's on my Twitter bio, it's on my LinkedIn. People know me as that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to fail people just because it happens to be on Twitter. It's not the public Twitter account.
But also, social media, at least on some level, should be wacky and fun. Yeah. And, I think another thing to try to redirect people, I don't mean to push the humanizing element too hard, but is, hey, man, it's totally cool you have this question. There are forums for that. Or, hey, I'm really sorry you're angry. There are forums for that, too. And you can rant all day on your personal Twitter account. That's cool. I'm here to post really dumb links to videos of Dave falling down outside of a club or something like that. And I will also answer your question or direct you because that's a nice responsible person in the world thing to do if I can help somebody. But it's not. I don't know. I don't know if I fully agree that. I think you have to be legitimate. And I think you have to try to help people if you can. But it is a full-time job. But at some point, I'm not obligated to answer every single question that comes into my Twitter account if it's not a reasonable question. And sometimes you get a lot of really unreasonable questions.
Sometimes you just, sometimes you have to pass the buck. But if you don't, and you're higher ups, I'm sure there's some of you in here who do social media or community and stuff like that. If they see that you're not passing the buck, if you're putting in the hours, you're staying in late, you're answering every question, then they think you're a little crazy because they're a little older and they don't really get this whole social media mumbo jumbo. They'll reward you for it. You'll have that job longer. You'll get promoted quicker because they see you putting in the time. And even it's little things. Sometimes it's just answering somebody's question when you want it to go. Just answer their question, be a person, get in there and do your job, and you'll be rewarded for it.
Now, that brings up interesting things. Promoting, but not sounding promoty. I think that's a big thing, not being just a mouthpiece, just kind of a machine tweeting links all day. It's hard to find a balance sometimes, especially for me personally, as a content creator. Twitter and Facebook, that's where people see it. YouTube, yeah, sure, but the majority of people see it when I show it. So it's hard to balance always throwing stuff out there when you want people to see it, and that's how they see it, but also not kind of, dragging it just too much, throwing it out there too much.
Yeah, it depends, I think, on the brand as well. You kind of you got to be a chameleon a little bit. At least that's what I try to be because I've worked for a lot of different companies, and it's always each account or each, brand you're talking about, it's a little bit different because the audience is different. You got to speak to them. The same thing that works for Rise of the Triad doesn't work for Gunners. I can't tweet in all caps from the Gunners account and post pictures of random nonsense and dogs biting people. They won't get that, But you got to be what we do a lot of stuff with Minecraft players, with YouTubers, with streamers. We link to streams, we link to these guys that they want to be watching. Guys that wear Gunners, stuff like that. And it's very different from what I do with games or what I would do, when I was a writer or what I do with my development company. It's you got to find a different voice that works. It's about the audience, but it still has to come from you. It's not like you're changing who you are, but you have to kind of change your voice a little bit depending on who you're speaking to.
Well, also the kind of content you post. There's different kinds of tweets, for example, different kinds of Facebook posts. There are posts that are intended
tweets about pizza,
yeah, exactly.
Tweets about news.
Pete's, not pizza tweets. The idea is sometimes you're tweeting to talk to your audience, most of the time, right? You're posting content they might find interesting, posting content they find relevant, or talking to somebody, interacting in a conversation, retweeting something important. And then every once in a while, you're tweeting to promote something. When you're actually being promotional, you're not really speaking to your audience, or you're asking your audience to help you spread your word and retweet it, repost it, add a comment or a like. And those are just different voices. And I think as long as you do it responsibly and don't badger your audience with that stuff, and provide enough actual quality content, they'll understand the difference. And if they actually want to be evangelists for what you're doing, want to share it with their friends because it's a cool thing, and you do that content right without being too promoty or more off, actually just more like doing it too often. Like we'll say, hey, there's a game out today, like buy it here, and that's a super promoty bullshit tweet. Yeah. But like if it's a game that all these people care about, like and we say like RT at the end, like hopefully they'll retweet it because they want people to see, who aren't following our account to see that tweet and actually check it out. So I don't know. Yeah.
Nobody will ever unfollow you because you don't tweet enough. It's always, wow, this person's filling up my thread, you know, like especially during like a game or something, and it's like, okay, if I see one more, I'm like scrolling through. If I see one more, all right, unfollow, you're done, because it's been like, 15 in the last hour. But if it's not the right moment, there's nothing wrong with holding back. And I think another thing is sometimes there's like sort of these like cultural moments, like something's going on, and everybody and every brand feels like they have to weigh in. I think there is no harm in just letting it go. And I think there maybe is a slide coming up talking about that.
Yeah.
Your opinion doesn't have to be out there on everything. Yeah. And we haven't heard from you, Dan.
Hashtag sorry.
Yeah, Dan, a question for you. When you operated under the banner of One of Swords, compared to operating like talking as Activision, One of Swords compared to you, like say like Dan.
Right.
Sorry, Jeff. You're Jeff. You tweet as Jeff. You would tweet as One of Swords. Like what? Like there's a difference. Like in language or like how?
The main reason, the stupid thing is that the One of Swords Twitter account came out of ignorance. I didn't realize you could just change your name. Yeah. I thought you had to create a second account, so I did. Turned out to be the best thing ever because One of Swords was really just an Activision project. But I made sure to let people know that One of Swords was an actual human being because I had a nice logo for One of Swords, and that was my Twitter profile for a little while. And then I'm like, they need to know that there's like 2 eyes and mouth here, so I just changed my photo. And then I felt like, well, now I'm overrepresenting. Now to some people, they're going to say, well, that guy is Activision. And believe me, people responded to me as if that guy was Activision.
Yeah, they did.
Every single problem they had with Activision was a problem with me.
Hey, can you fix ghosts, please?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah. Let's get on that, yeah.
Stop nerfing
Okay, Ghost is fixed. I just did it on my phone. I used the official Call of Duty app. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to be both a brand yet an individual. And there was always the idea that maybe One of Swords would grow to encompass more human beings too, at which case then we would start delineating it. But for 4 years, One of Swords wound up just being me, one guy. It was weird.
I totally butchered that last question, didn't I?
I don't know what you wanted to know.
So. No, that was great. Okay. That you've saved me. I got to see you in public speaking, so sorry. But talking about do's and don'ts, the main event here is what do you guys avoid generally?
I avoid scheduling tweets more than anything else.
Yeah, really.
A lot of times people want to schedule tweets and because it makes their life easier. Like right before you go home, you put 10 different things on.
Yeah,
but then it's like,
you got to get that tweet out at 4:20.
All of a sudden, yeah, exactly right.
You might forget.
But it makes people's lives a lot easier because you say, all right, I'm going to schedule this. I don't have to worry. It's already there. All right, 1 minute before your scheduled tweet goes out, Russia bombs Ukraine, okay? And it's like, millions dead, horrible, horrible. Buy my shit. Like, you look horrible.
It's like, no, I scheduled that, I swear.
Like, that's one of the biggest things. And then, making sure that you're not in on every joke. You always have, even on your personal accounts when... you and friends are joking, and that one person comes in, they're like, and then, and you're like, and no.
Who invited you to the thread, bro?
It's
like,
I mean, I got some ground rules. It's usually just like, don't be sexist, don't be racist, don't be a dick. If you start writing something and you're like, this might be the wrong thing to say, stop.
Backspace, yeah.
Just stop. It's like, oh man, you see that tweet that got me fired? It got 20 retweets, bro. Yeah, it's not worth it. If you think something's a bad idea, it probably is.
That's absolutely true. My wife actually was the one that when I started One of Swords, I was used to being more of a media voice. Everybody knows my sense of humor, and you follow somebody, and here I am basically starting over. And she said, you have to put on your asshole hat. She's like, write your tweets. Yeah, I know, it's a messy hat.
So what you're saying is it's an ass hat.
It's an ass hat. I guess it really is an ass hat. She said, write your tweet. Then if you were a blogger working for a media outlet looking for something to jump on and get traffic, how would you twist your words to your own ends? She's like, so you have to think about the recipient in that case. What's the worst that could happen if somebody reads your tweet the way you don't want them to read it? Then rewrite it so that it is bulletproof. And that actually, it took me about 4 or 5 months to really make that a natural flow where I was instantly, not censoring myself, but just really carefully selecting the words so they could not be used as weapons against me.
What about good things? Like what I do, like just to promote effectiveness and stuff.
We can't have nice things in social media.
Yeah,
It's really, really hard.
Always be nice, yeah.
To like, you see people that are
Not
positive like all the time, and you're like, you're putting it on. Yeah. Like it's like, and you might know them in real life, and they're just the happiest person ever. You know, Pharrell is following them around and just saying it to them. But like, but you know that everybody has a bad day. And it's like, dude, just tweet on your bad day. Like, I want to see you pissed. Like, I want to see you like. And a lot of times it comes down to a lot of people will type out everything, and I do it. I type it out, and I go, no, I'm not going to do that, because it just, you wind up on the negative end of things.
And there's some legendary ones that happened last year, right?
Justine.
What?
Justine Sacco.
Yeah.
Justine
Has she
Sacco.
landed yet? Does anybody know?
If anybody doesn't know Justine Sacco, Justine Sacco was a PR representative who, friends told her, according to her, that it's cool to be controversial on Twitter, which it's not. It's really a bad move. It's a really bad idea. So she's going on a flight to South Africa, and she tweets out, on a flight to South Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white. Yeah. She landed, and she was fired. Okay?
It's like an 8-hour flight.
She was stuck in the air.
So the hashtag was, has Justine landed yet? You could still look it up. There's probably still people tweeting at this lady, calling her a bitch.
If you think about it, she had like 154 followers. Your follower count does not matter. Because
at that point,
you could sit there and
when
like,
she landed, she had like 80,000 followers and like 15 articles on Mashable and BuzzFeed and Time. It was
and there was a hashtag about the hashtag was, has Justine landed yet?
Yeah, because she didn't know. The poor lady had no idea.
And then there was like the one paparazzi in South Africa at the airport, like, gotcha.
I got you.
And she's like, oh, and she has no job. But if you think about it, you know, like a lot of people on this panel have like a lot of followers. Like John has like, you know, I follow John. But if you think about like when I was working for a brand, when we were dealing with customers, you have to look at everybody holistically. Somebody will come to you and they'll have 10,000, 20,000 followers, and you go, oh my God, we have to fix their issue really quick. Now, if the same person has 2 followers and 7 tweets, how many of you are going to go, oh, we got to worry about this person? Not a lot of people will. But then you do recon on them. They have 5 tweets. 3 of them are to you telling you suck. They have 2 followers.
It's an egg, right? Like an egg person.
Their first tweet is saying to Barack Obama, great to see you at the state dinner the other night. Keep in touch. The second one is to Beyonce, great performance. And their 2 followers are Beyonce and Barack Obama. 1 retweet and you have 40 million people down your neck. So it's like, don't even look at follower counts or anything like that. Just look at the person as a person and just deal with them.
I like that you've constructed a scenario in which the president is retweeting a sprint social media complaint.
It's like, it was great seeing you too, Dan. I liked your ideas about foreign policy.
Yeah.
I dealt with some scary situations.
I know, right? I would also just say, reply as much as you want and talk directly to people as much as you want, because not everyone... I mean, still be a person and don't say terrible things, but like, hey, constantly post and communicate with people. And if you're going to post a big broadcasty thing, just think about how often you're doing that and what you're saying. Like, those are different forums, right? Whether people are all seeing it or whether just the people you're speaking to are seeing it.
Are we all on board for just being on 24/7?
Yeah, let's
do it.
Yeah. Dude, I was here when the Boston Marathon bombing went down. And it was like the easiest way to tell if everyone at Harmonix was okay, because it was Marathon Monday, everyone was out of the office. Yeah. And people were tweeting like, I'm here, where's everybody? And like the networks largely stayed up that day, and it was, it was helpful. I mean, social media is kind of the best. Being on 24/7 at 2 in the morning, being like, hey, yo, do you guys hear gunshots outside? It's like, yeah, there's a dude throwing grenades in the street. What's going on?
It's amazing for earthquakes.
Earthquakes also. You know when there's an earthquake in California.
It's like, anybody feel that? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt that. You feel that? Yeah, I felt that too.
All
Hey,
my
where are you?
social media feed felt that in
Now,
California.
back to good things to get people to like you, like to get the Facebook likes, get the followers. Is giving away free shit the solution, or is it saying really funny stuff, or what is
It's a
it?
short-term solution. If people are only going to follow you for, like let's say you're having a panel at PAX and you're offering to give stuff away, like for instance, you'll get them there once. I think it actually works for the panel. But good content is key. If you respect people and if you're creating stuff that they want to see and you do it consistently, then Twitter's a great way, whether Twitter is the end content or whether that's taking you to something else that's really good, then that is going to be a great reason to follow somebody. Some people are just great, they do great retweets, or they're really good at finding articles or news or whatever. I follow them just for that reason.
But let's be honest about Facebook. I mean, like Twitter, that rule is totally fair. Facebook, like, hey, post some stuff because like you may as well, and like maybe there'll be a great conversation. If you're Xbox and you have multiple millions of followers, you'll still get a lot of exposure. But on Facebook, if you want people to see your stuff, you have to pay.
Yeah.
Like the way that Facebook now works. I mean, if some of you are just like not super into reading like a bunch of Mashable articles every day, like hopefully you're aware as users of the service that if you're seeing brand stuff in Facebook, it's not because they made some great content that got liked a lot. It's because they are probably paying to promote it, and that's not because brands are gross in advertising. It's because literally the way that Facebook's algorithm is now working for newsfeed, you will not see. Even if all of my followers will not see a thing I post if I'm posting from Rock Band, they like 3% of them might see it.
Even your friends. Like,
Even
you have to
your
promote
friends.
shit for your friends to see it now. It's like, oh my God, I got this great birthday present. Like, one like. It's like,
It's sad.
It's like, I didn't promote this for $10. So my
It actually comes down to the point. I have like a Facebook page like me, and then I have my Facebook account, and sometimes I'll post the same thing from both of them, and the actual page with all the likes and stuff. Nobody pays attention to that except my actual Facebook friends, and they're like, hey, I saw you post that twice. And I'm like, I have 2 accounts. What are you, like, come on.
By the way, that's how you do that. If you want people to like you on Facebook, you go like, I mean, I guess I have a page, and like, you should like me. Like, it's not a big thing.
That's like a word for word I've said
I like
that.
it. I like the downplaying of it. That's probably the best strategy you can come up with. It's good.
It's a tricky thing.
For
Nailed.
giveaways, real quick, what I wound up doing is I would see that if I would tell people in advance I was going to be giving away Guitar Hero download codes or something like that on Twitter, I would I'm sorry. Music is universal, man.
I know.
It used to be about the music, Drake.
Shots fired. Sorry.
I would say, hey guys, we're gonna have a big, like, I've done crazy things like 20,000 codes over 96 hours. Like literally every 5 minutes, I scheduled codes to give away, and each one was a riddle that you had to solve. Like, it literally took me 3 weeks, and I'm using literally correctly because I timed myself. But what would happen is I would gain a spike in followers, and then as soon as the giveaway's done, boom, they all disappear.
gone.
So my new tactic was, you know what? If you were nice enough to follow me, you should be rewarded. It was more about reinforcement than acquisition.
The people who were there.
So I would just do shock and awe. Like, I would not say when I was doing something. It would just be like, here you go, codes. Oh man, Americ's giving away codes. Yeah. And they're like, why didn't you tell us? I'm like, because if you cared, you'd already be following.
Oh, snap.
And it was really nice, but I felt like I was rewarding the people who were putting up with my dumb jokes and my bad puns and the other, the previous sort of like, hey guys, there's new Call of Duty DLC, surprise. It was a nice way to use giveaways as rewards rather than, something to try to bait people in.
You have to remember that some of the best content you're ever going to get is from your own audience.
Yep.
All the stuff that you would post on whatever your brand may be, whatever game you work on, some of the best stuff you're going to get is from your favorite fans.
Yeah.
Whether it's a video that they make or a crazy screenshot of a bug in a game that actually is kind of funny, or especially relevant to me when our sponsored YouTubers or any of our cool content creators make some cool videos. I'm going to post about it. My team's going to post about it. Everyone's going to say something up because that is easy for us to do.
Yeah.
And it works. It's authentic. It's legitimate.
Even if you're like me and someone photoshops your face on Wonder Woman's body, share it.
Yeah.
Get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
Some things are improvements.
Yeah, I
can I
agree with
find
Stan.
that
Like,
at?
some of the best stuff just comes from your community, and like, always be on the lookout, because like, we're always like, it's so annoying. Like, companies are trying to struggle for like things. So, what are we gonna? Let's get our social media schedule in
Just
order.
ask
Like,
your
social
audience. It's
media
the easiest
schedule?
thing to do.
Yeah. The social
Like, please send us
calendar.
cool
The
stuff.
social calendar. If you work at a company that has a social calendar, it's just like you got to stop that. It's just it's got to happen organically. And like Stan said, the best stuff comes from your community. Be on the lookout for someone tweeting that video or that picture at you. That's going to get more traction and more response than the stuff that you're going to come up with.
And like be organized. Like you should be posting your PR announcements. You should be posting the Call of Duty DLC. You should know what's going on. But like that's not if you're a social media manager and that's all you do, like that's your job. That's not your job. You're doing it really not right. That's bad. No. Annette runs our Fantasia account. And she has like a schedule, like, hey, there's a topic every day, and it's about like an announcement that we're making, or a thing that's happening, or something that we've worked up with our art team. But then like, it's not like she posts once at 7 a.m. and then goes home for the rest of the day, right? She's like,
all right, clocking out, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, she's there talking to people and then changing the schedule based on what people are saying. So it's I think if you're not a part of an actual conversation, if you're not being social with people, you can't read the first word of your job title, and that's a problem. You should probably not work in this job if you can't.
And I think
it's important.
from these slides, like we can see that there's sometimes it's just, you don't have to tweet on 9/11. It's okay, guys. You don't have to come up with something for 9/11. Like how long do you think it took them at AT&T to? Oh, like I got a great idea. Somebody came in and said. And
they hired an agency to execute it.
Yeah.
You know,
and these guys are supposed to be the experts at this stuff.
Yeah.
You pay an agency thousands of dollars, and this is all they come up with.
Yeah, like, and why is SpaghettiOs tweeting about Pearl Harbor?
Right.
Why?
But just in general.
It's like never forget, we're delicious.
Did he have any?
No, you don't have to. Like a calendar's good, like, but you don't have like every single day. Like, don't like. Did you get the Martin Luther King thing up there? Like the Golf Channel did a Remember Martin Luther King Day thing, and it's like. No, it's like why Golf Channel? That's not
the Golf.
The crazy part is that someone had to make these. Like someone sat at a desk.
Yeah, somebody sat there with
a committee approved
a
this.
freaking SpaghettiO.
Perfect. Let's do
I can only imagine the graphic designer's look on his
Somebody
face
put
as
a
he sees the
request into the creative tracker for
That's what I
that.
was gonna say. Most likely, like someone sat there making it, going, "I cannot believe this dude told me I had to make this thing. I work at the fucking Golf Channel. Why are we talking about Martin Luther King? Like, here, I'm gonna Photoshop his face onto Arnie Palmer, I guess. What's going on?"
And if you look at the 9/11 one, it's like his hand's like positioned to take a selfie.
Yeah.
It's like 3,000 people died, but first, let me take a selfie. Like it's just like.
Yeah, BT Dubs, this isn't how your fucking phones work.
Never forget our
like
great plans.
But it's like when credit card companies show you a commercial for a credit card and they swipe the card backwards. Have you ever seen that? So the card faces the right way? I'm like, well, I don't. Come on, man. I get it. Marketing's hard, but.
Am I the only one that sees it and thinks he only has 2 bars?
Sorry?
Yeah? No? Okay.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only 2 bars? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's just like.
Moses.
Some rough chuckles.
It's a good segue into damage control.
Segue.
Damage control, am I right?
Making bad things good and fixing things. Is it as easy as just like a simple delete? Or, is there more?
It stays forever.
Yeah.
Everything
even if you delete it, like what you really have to do is own it.
Yeah.
Early on, there was an issue with Activision, and I said, look, I need to address this. And they said, well, can't you just tell Twitter no comment? And I was just like, really, you guys don't get how Twitter works. And whenever I hear of somebody deleting a tweet, it's like, even if you delete a tweet, then you at least have to say, hey, we deleted that tweet, we realized it was insensitive or whatever, or, we're really sorry. You have to own your mistakes, or else you will, the mistake will just multiply tenfold. So no, I don't think that just deleting anything, I think you have to own it and acknowledge that you screwed up. And that's a human thing to do on Twitter, and you will get more respect for owning the mistake, and eventually you can ask for, forgiveness.
It comes back to not being just a robot.
Exactly.
Well, sometimes you have to be sure when it is the right situation, because crisis control damage control is not something that a lot of social people are trained for. Only the best ones have that kind of experience. One good example is a friend accidentally tweeted from his personal account onto his work account.
The big snafu.
Yeah, because he took a picture of a adult film studio.
Guess where I am.
Yeah, and the company at that point, they just hit 150,000 Twitter followers. So somehow they escaped that simply by, I guess nobody noticed it. The tweet was innocuous enough. Some people were wondering what the hell is that about, and everyone asked if they were hacked. I'm thinking, I don't know what to do with this situation here. And I think this was also 4 hours later, and most people didn't even seem to notice, so this wasn't a terribly controversial topic. At that point, I think it made sense to simply remove it and move on, because the audience moved on very quickly. I think they assumed that it was either a hack or a mistake or just the wrong account. But sometimes when you work for a brand, it says something valuable and it's something really controversial goes up. then you most definitely have to own it and explain why this happened and how it was addressed.
There's a good lesson to be learned there. Like pretty much every Twitter client can hold multiple accounts.
Yep.
And if you're in charge of like a company's Twitter account, don't do it. Like I've always had completely separate Twitter
Separate apps,
clients.
separate windows, everything.
It's just not worth it because it's happened to everyone. And sometimes you're in an adult film studio when it happens, and that's not good.
Just don't do that in general. It's a bad idea.
And I've always got this thing like, if God forbid you fuck up, apologize immediately and profusely. Just own it.
Well, but people are aware. I mean, like people are usually tweeting back at even at a brand because they want some sort of like human acknowledgement or validation or connection, right? So if you say like, "Hey, yeah, I accidentally tweeted my personal account," and like, I mean, here's the thing: if you work for Gunners and you accidentally tweet like an exterior photo of an adult film studio, you could probably delete it and get away with it. If you work for like a children's book company account, you can do that. It's a different thing. I mean, but that's the thing. I think there's plenty of
Gunners make porn look great.
Yeah, exactly. Glare free.
Yes.
All the time.
It really pops. You know?
Yeah. If you're gonna watch like 12 to 14 hours of porn a day, you need to be wearing Gunners. Otherwise, the eye strain just isn't worth it.
Do you want a job, man?
I am all ready to do it.
Dealing with trolls and bad people. How many of us do have a policy of like do not engage? Does anyone here raise your hand not engage at all?
Engage and convert. Engage and convert. Engage and convert.
Right.
Kill 'em with kindness.
Yeah, I'm into that, yeah.
It depends. There's certain folks that if they're coming at you with profanity and everything, certain folks, you just gotta leave it alone.
Hate speech is not trolling. Hate speech is hate speech.
Okay, all right. Well, then there's definitely that line. Yeah. But Dan, I've always noticed, and I wanted to ask you this since we're here, you engage even like, I would say like full-on hate speech folks sometimes.
I do. Yeah, it's fun.
Why?
Well, because I thought about this long and hard, and the bottom line is no matter how angry you come at me, it's because you care. And it is a terrible, sappy Hallmark thing to say, but the only reason people get upset about Call of Duty or Skylanders or any of the brands that I've worked with is because it matters to them.
Nobody gets upset about Call of Duty on Twitter. What are you talking about?
Ridiculous.
Fine, it's just the Skylanders.
And my thought process was different. I was like, Skylanders are so innocent.
But I try to put myself in there. You know, we've all been angry consumers. Like, we didn't always have these tools to get to vent that anger, but we've all been really angry. And even when people come at me like as a complete jackhole, you know, and they do come at me with hate speech and stuff like that, I want to let them know that I see them being a jackhole. So, and I also, by doing that, I kind of, you know, I don't always put a little period in front to do the social shaming, because that, you know, that can backfire pretty easily too. But I kind of want to let them know, you are talking to a human being. If you saw me in person, you probably wouldn't talk that way. But if you have something legitimate to say, can we advance on to what it is that I can help you do, whether it's reroute you to customer service or whatever. But yeah, I will even go after the people that do nothing but swear at me, and I'm just like, dude, I could do without the language, but is there anything else I can do for you? And then if they're just there to just beat me into submission, then I will eventually block them. I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't think we're communicating well at all.
But you don't block right away.
I don't block right away.
That's pretty good.
Well, no, I mean, I think I'm kind of stupid for doing that sometimes, because I've looked at some of my past engagements. I'm like, why didn't I just block this jackhole?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I kind of figure everybody out there is a voice. The legitimacy of that voice is up and down, but every single person is a human being. So I try to treat them the way I would want to be treated. If I was even angry that, you know, somebody would come back at me, like I was upset at like United recently, and I even said, I was like, I didn't talk to
United Airlines?
United Airlines?
How is that possible?
And I was just, I was delayed. I have not flown United for 5 years by choice, and just don't like
for good
their
reason.
service. And sure enough, the first flight that I have is delayed, and it's because some of the pilots forgot to show up. So that's
Hey man, they had a late night.
I can't believe that like this is actually happening. And of course, I didn't tweet at United to scream at them, but they were watching and they're managing their brand on Twitter, and they're like, oh, well, let me see if I can get an update on that. And I felt kind of like a dick, because I'm like, well, there I was venting, publicly. So I try to consider like even the hate speech jerks, they might be redeemable, and sometimes you do flip them. Like you respond and convert. You sometimes can go, oh, I didn't realize a real person was.
That's the best thing to receive. Like, oh,
it feels
hey,
so
yeah.
great. Like I feel like a superhero those days.
That happens like all the time though. And
not on YouTube.
But YouTube's a whole different monster. But I would say like in customer service emails, in random emails to our press account, or in random tweets, like I'd say like 9 times out of 10, even what starts as like pretty vitriolic trolling ends with someone being like, yeah, all right, thanks for nothing or whatever, fine. But like you can tell that they kind of have conceded that their point is not like a thing that needed to be said or screamed to somebody. 1 out of 10 times you get someone who just like is either fucking crazy, right? And they're just like yelling about like how there is a prince who is going to sell you all this insurance, and you're like, okay, this person's not worth responding to. They're not a troll. They're just a business opportunist, obviously. But most of the time, I found that people eventually turn a corner, whether they 180 and become like an ally who's rallying with you. That's pretty rare, but they turn a corner and go, okay, fine. At least I'll leave this conversation alone. And they don't just dig in and fight for days. But Dan's a different species.
The best
Dan
is when it's like, I still hate your brand, but you're pretty cool.
Right.
Those are my favorite ones.
That's happened.
Like, gunners suck, but you're an all right dude.
Like when we were doing with the care aspect of it, it's like you have the initials after the tweet, and people just think like the robot mashed the keyboard and there's just random initials back there, and we're like, no, that's a person. And then when you talk to them and you wind up speaking to them on the phone, or you wind up emailing with them, like it could start.
You're talking to people from Twitter on the phone, man?
That's that's what I used to do.
Dan don't fuck around.
But like there were certain points where certain things you couldn't handle online. Like you always tried to keep everything online, and you want to turn them into an evangelist. You want to make them like your brand, but then you get them offline and you speak to them, and they're like, oh, you exist. And I'm like, yeah, those are my initials. Right. Like nobody just went, like that didn't just happen.
Well, the biggest thing everyone did there is they acknowledged the problem. You recognize that this person's upset. Sometimes you kind of have to let them know, hey, we recognize you're upset. Please stop swearing madly at us. Let us help you. And once people see that, 9 out of 10 times you're going to get a more relaxed response. They just want the attention. They just want to be recognized. And if you know how to communicate with people that way, you can pretty effectively calm people down or angry customers very, very quickly.
I'll say though, like, we are giving you a very homogenous opinion on this topic, and I would say that the majority of our peers in the industry do not agree with this.
I think you're absolutely right.
I have had this fight with most people who do social media or communications or community strategy, and almost all of them say like, don't be. There's a community managers like community on Facebook, which is a weirdly recombinant sentence on Facebook, and like someone posted there like, don't feed the trolls. And we got in this debate in the comments of that post, like, I don't know, like you can turn people around. Like I really believe in digging in, and people were like, fuck that, fuck you, no, absolutely not. I'm like, you see what's happening?
Yeah. You're turning into one.
You become the very and so I discussed it with them for like an hour. I think I changed some minds, and I was like, irony is the best part of this.
I mean, there's a difference between feeding and engaging. If you're just going to argue with someone, you're not engaging them. But I think we all agree here, which is probably why we're on a panel about social media, that engaging is the better way. Don't feed the trolls, but don't ignore them either, because at the end of the day, they probably have a valid complaint buried somewhere in there, and it needs to be addressed, and you can convert them.
You can do it.
You could feed them a snack.
You gotta spar and you gotta stay sharp too. Sometimes you gotta pick a fight with somebody, just like, show them who's the biggest boss in the prison yard. You gotta put
I try that with you every day, and you just don't respond.
And I just stomp you, son. What?
But sometimes you'll get in like a great line. You're like, oh, I've got the perfect way to turn this around on. It's always a hollow victory. You never. Even it might feel good for like a few minutes, and then it was like.
Well, because you spend 20 minutes trying to figure it out, and by the time you do, the thread's already dead.
Well, but guys, like pizza's really not like pizza's empty calories, but I still eat pizza all the time. I don't know. It can be satisfying emotionally.
Sorry, I think we should get into examples.
Satisfying.
We should get into examples of doing cool things. Aubrey Norris from Deep Silver couldn't make it today, but look at this. This is really cool. This is the whole thing. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they spun DLC for Saints Row 4 when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and they had a whole thing, hashtag Gat, a character from the game, Johnny Gat, blah, blah,
Gat V.
Gat V instead of GTA V.
Yeah, and they promoted it on the day that GTA 5 came out. Brilliant. And it was brilliant, and the hashtag Gat V, because it was promoted, went higher on Twitter than GTA V, because people didn't know the difference and they didn't know what they were doing, and it became this epic troll, and Saints Row got so much press from it.
Professional trolling.
Yeah, professional, like high-level professional, paid for Twitter, amazing trolling. So much so, I think Aubrey won an award.
Yep.
They won an award for Gat V. So if we could have a round of applause for Saints Row trolling.
Yeah. She's the best.
Just Johnny Gat in general. He's in Dive Kick now, yeah.
That whole day, if you were watching Twitter, it was the funniest thing in the world. Because everybody's like, people don't know how to spell hashtags, man.
Dave,
They
this is-
spell-
People are typing it wrong.
Yeah, because people didn't know. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait for Gat V to come out today. I'm gonna go get that." And it was like, "What? No, you're spelling it wrong." It's like, "No, look, it's promoted. It's the top trend. That's how you spell it. Gat V, Grand Auto Theft 5." And it was amazing.
Brilliant.
Dyslexia is real.
Dave, this is your stuff. You had a good example.
Oh, this slide. Okay, so it's not always about big names. Sometimes about finding communities that can help your brand. So on the left we have Lady Gaga wearing her gunners. On the right
With her
we
poker
have
face.
Blacklight Attack. He's over there. And up in the top right we have Steve-O. Who I have no idea why he's wearing gutters, but he's having a good time with them. So Lady Gaga is one of the biggest stars in the world. Blacklight Attack is one of the biggest stars in his own house on Twitch for a gaming community called KB Mod. And these dudes, they have a ton of streamers, they make a ton of videos, they have an awesome podcast, and basically they're hardcore PC gamers. KB Mod stands for keyboard, mouse, or die. Now, I've been hooking these guys up with gunners. They actually wear them. They actually use them. Then they come to me. They're like, "Hey, man, we need some gunners because this is what we do. We stream all day. I stream, blah, blah, blah. What gunners are for, in case you people didn't know. I could give you an elevator pitch, but I'm not going to.
Jesus.
Anyway,
He can't help himself.
who do you think sold more gunners for us? Lady Gaga wearing them or Blacklight Attack? Hands up for Lady Gaga. Hands up for Blacklight Attack. Exactly. So while it's fun to work with big names and get those big celebrity endorsements, I can't look at that picture. Finding those communities that really care about your product and want to promote them organically will often lead to more sales. So you got to be out there and you got to look for the guys like Blacklight Attack posing naked on the toilet in gunners, because sometimes that's going to sell a lot more of your product than Lady Gaga putting it on Instagram.
I like to think that this slide is saying that, like, between Lady Gaga and Blacklight Attack, that Steve-O bought gunners because of Blacklight Attack. And that's why because he's not on the slide for any other fucking reason.
There's
We have
no way
no idea.
Steve-O likes Lady Gaga, but he might watch BLA stream.
Toilet photos.
And it's the brand awareness, too, because on that Instagram, Lady Gaga's Instagram, one of her followers on Instagram came in and was like, "Yo, Mother Monster, those are beautiful. You should so make those and sell them."
Yeah,
and
like, no, we do sell them. Here's the link.
They do. That's why she has it there.
So yeah, organic communities are definitely the way to. I mean, reaching out to big names and big YouTube guys and stuff like that. Guys like Jake Baldino, pretty much it.
Big time.
Big time. Are always a good idea, but if you can find those pockets or those communities where people really care about your products the most, where it doesn't look like an advertisement.
No.
Not that we wouldn't put that on the box. It can often be a lot better for your brand, and you're having more fun doing stuff like that too.
I've never worn these before.
Desmo's nice.
You look like you're from the future.
Let's get to the big question. This is, don't mind the picture. Is social media a tool for interaction, promotion, or both? This is kind of like the objective, I guess, the hypothesis. I don't know. What would you guys say?
I might be in the minority, but I've always seen it as interaction, not promotion. Promotion is a byproduct of what you get. I try to explain Twitter to people that didn't understand it as a cocktail party. Like, I think a lot of marketers see it as, oh, it's promotion. It's like a billboard. I'm like, it's not a billboard. Somebody comes up to you, taps you on the shoulder at PAX and says, hey, I wanted to tell you that I really like your game. Or worse yet, hey, what's wrong with your game? You can't just turn around and walk away like you didn't see them. It's
Hey, have you fixed Ghost yet?
Yeah.
I just did 45 minutes ago. Do it on my phone. So to me, it's all about interaction. It's that one-on-one connection that you get to make with people that you wouldn't normally get that access. And I think the promotion comes as a secondary. For me, at least that's the way I like to use it. And I think that's Twitter's greatest strength. There's a million ways to promote things, but there's very few ways to actually have a conversation with somebody that's meaningful. And I still like using Twitter and Facebook to have meaningful conversation.
See, I'm at the point where you need to find the right mix for your brand, your audience. Sometimes you're going to want to do strictly promotional stuff, and it's not going to be something every day, but you're still going to have people interacting on your audience. Accessory brands in particular really have to have a fine balance of both. And some days it's going to be 25% promo, 75% interaction. Other days it's going to be the exact opposite. You need to have flexibility, but more importantly, you need to know what the mix is for what you do and who you talk to.
Yeah, it's all about your audience. Like, if you're following Elgato because you love that product, you might not want to have a conversation with them. I mean, if you knew Stan was there, I'm sure you would want to, but
you should.
Yes. You may just want to know more about it, like when the, updates are coming or when there's new stuff. So it's really knowing your audience, and you can very quickly tell if you just look at, the responses, whether it's landing or not, and then you just need to adjust from that, and it's just being a human.
Like the show.
That, right? Yeah. Yes.
That's promotion. That's right now.
I'd argue, interaction as well. I mean, I think that's why they call it social media, because it's about talking to people. Like, yeah, sure, it's a promotional tool, but I think if you're just using it as a promotional tool, you're missing out on a lot of the benefit that your brand can get from social media, from having people like us there to talk to customers in an organic and fun way.
Also, it sucks at that. Yeah. Like Facebook and Twitter suck at that. Like, because you're not promotion is, let's separate the word. Promoting your brand, sure. Promoting your interaction and how interactive you're being, sure. Advertising, which I think is what we actually mean, right? Hey, I figure like broadcasting for people to see it who don't already follow you or engage with you. Like, you have to pay a lot of money, and like the numbers are sort of not that great in terms of what you actually get in return for that. Like, I've bought advertising on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I'd much rather get a really good organic response to people who feel like they are evangelists spreading the word than like pay $50,000 to promote a tweet for a couple hours and have people who aren't going to see it. I'll just buy banner advertising instead. I mean, it's the click-through rates are probably just as good. Anyway.
Did you have something?
Social media.
You look like you want to talk.
No.
Okay, no.
You want to talk? Keep talking. No.
Just putting his glasses on his face over and over again and then putting them down.
So here's another big one. How do I get a job? How do I get a job? What do people look for?
Did anybody sitting here get a job because of social media? Or did you just fall into it?
That's a good question, yeah.
Yeah, fell into it, yeah. Please
like no
help me
one
get
majored
out.
in social media ism class?
Not because, but it was from people I knew that I met through social sometimes.
That's who you know.
That's
more
good advice.
networking.
Actually, I'm pretty sure all of us here met on via Twitter.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is so sad.
That's like actually sad.
See how awkward we are in person?
All friends because of Twitter. That's true.
Yeah, we just sit there like at
Thank
John.
you for that clap. That was good. That was good. Three people being like, that was really sad, guys.
And I think a lot of us probably had, a lot of stuff going with our personal accounts and social, and then when we got the jobs were out, they're like, hey, you're pretty good at this. Why don't you do this too?
Yeah, Dave actually met me in person once and big-timed me super hard at a bar and wouldn't actually talk to me at all and told me he was in real estate and didn't know anything about video games. And then later tweeted at me, and I was like, it's that guy from the bar who told me he didn't work in video games. What a jerk.
Now, like part of the reason, like the whole entire, I don't want to call it games journalism because I don't do much writing. But
What do you
What the hell
do?
did that mean?
I'm because everybody's like I write. I'm a games journalist. Stop. But when I was going to cover events and getting into things, the only reason that Hulk Hogan, the only reason that I knew or got any access was because I reached out to Dan on Twitter, and it was before I even reached out to him on Twitter. We shared a Mortal Kombat code, and it had nothing to do with games or access or anything. And then I was like, I follow Activision on Twitter. Let me tweet Activision, and I DM'd him, and he got me into an event. So it's like, and then from there you build contacts and you meet more people, and then you meet Dave and you run away, and like things like that happen. So don't misunderstand that Twitter and Facebook can be the greatest thing for your career. They can also be the absolute worst thing for your career. So be very, very careful. And I mean, John, you started following me after I met you in a bar.
That's true. We became friends in a bar, unlike me and Dave, who became enemies.
Go to bars.
I would
That's
say,
it,
if you want to work at social for a major company, for example, which is it's a different kind of job. And by the way, it's not always great. I don't know if we've emphasized enough that I'm sure multiple people up here have gotten death threats. I'm guessing more people than just me, but we don't need to confirm it. Yeah, sure. I mean, not from me though. I mean,
I said I didn't like Dark Souls. That was a big deal.
Right. Yeah. So it can be a rough job, but I think the thing is work in a community where you're not doing it professionally. Become a part of a forum or a Reddit board, or just a group of people who are all tweeting together. Become friends with the brand and the people who work at the brand. So if you can meet somebody who also has a personal Twitter account, try to become friends with them by actually just being a normal, good person who says nice things to them, and not a weird, creeping person who says creepy, awful things to them. And that's really the best inroad in terms of using social to become a professional social media manager is become someone who's an evangelist in games in general, and then apply for jobs when they come up and sort of be known already. Like if Dan applied for a job, I know who he is and he would go to the top of the pile, right? Because he's a person that I've met before.
Gosh.
I mean, there's no open positions at Harmonix, Dan. Don't get
And it's
excited.
also really easy to find out about say you're an employer looking for someone to hire for a community or social job. It's really easy to check up on them, via the social networks. I mean, you look at them, you look at their Twitch, you look at their, YouTube, you look at their Twitter, and you're like, okay, this is what this person's about. If you're that kind of person, it's going to be really easy to tell if you're someone they want to hire or not. If you're putting it out there like that.
Another thing you really want to be sure is what is the difference between community management and social media. Originally, community management was helping leverage forums and smaller communities, but then the internet blew up. Twitter and Facebook came around, and then it was basically the community managers who had to adopt Twitter and Facebook and moved into social media. But then Twitter and Facebook blew up, and naturally social media started becoming more of its own thing. If you are talking to a company about a specific position that's titled community manager, social media, please be very clear what their needs and expectations are. I've heard numerous stories where someone who was a community manager who came from more of an ambassador role went to a company that was a mobile gaming brand as a community manager, and it was all analytics, it was all statistics, it was all metrics, and she couldn't handle that because that was not her background, because she wasn't really clear on what the definition of that was. Please understand the difference, and if you're talking to a company or interviewing with them, please make sure that you know what their understanding of that title is.
We can keep this going. We have like 5 minutes for a Q&A, so if anyone has a question, go ahead.
Eat that mic. Let's do this.
I actually changed my title.
So
from social media
first of all, I just wanted to say that I empathize with all of you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm a yoga teacher, and I'm the social media guru for the trade association that oversees 45,000 other yoga teachers. And so I empathize with the death threat.
Are yoga teachers really hostile on Twitter? Because that'd be amazing.
I don't
Your
bend
lotus
that
pose
way.
sucks, boy.
They're worse on Facebook. They have more time. They have more
That's true.
space on Facebook. And that's actually where my question comes in. One of the things that we kind of struggle with is, when you're thinking about diversifying your social media posts, what factors come into play for you in deciding, I'm going to post this to Facebook, I'm going to post this to Twitter, I'm going to put this, how do you decide?
I can at least start with that. I always look at Twitter as a more intimate thing compared to Facebook. Like Twitter, I'll be like, hey, pizza, guys, Facebook, it's more of like did you guys play Dark Souls? What do you think? Something like that. I don't know about you guys.
Open-ended questions work very well for Facebook, and when it comes to their algorithm, as crappy as it can be, sometimes even not putting an asset in it or a link in it, and just asking a question can make it see like 10% of your audience as opposed to 1%.
Absolutely. Because people just want to answer like, hey, like this, share this, or so what do you think? Like X, like what character should we put in this thing next? And you'll get like, brr. But if you just put like an ad up, it's like okay, like 2 likes, things. And with Facebook, like if you're not promoting anything, it's almost not even worth it these days. But yeah, absolutely, Twitter's way more intimate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Do you think that with as people get better at dealing with using social media, that specific forms will become less common for companies as time goes on, or?
It's a very good question.
I can tell you already that Gunner's like really scaled back on Facebook because of the algorithms and the promoted stuff. It's not worth the money. I mean, we get way more interaction on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook's just becoming less and less for us. And you guys saw what E24 did to Facebook, right? That was amazing. Their goodbye letter. They just took their Facebook page down. They're like, we're done, thanks.
Wow.
We don't need you anymore. And we're scaling back. I don't know about you guys.
Because Facebook changes their algorithm, and now they're changing it to do away with the share like thing, that because people are like once for respect and share for.
You can't request a like, or you can't request a call to action in the post itself. It's against the rules.
And social media itself has, if you look at it, social media is still a baby. It's very, very new. And as it evolves, you're going to see more things come out. The one thing that I can see is Facebook becoming less of a social network and more of a content hub. And
in virtual reality.
Yeah.
No, the thing definitely to know is your platforms will change. Facebook is not what it was a year ago. Twitter is not what it was 2 years ago. If you're a good marketer, good social person, you're going to know what happens with every platform, and you have to be on top of that.
The one that's on the rise that I'm seeing is Twitch, because you can do live streams directly with developers, directly with fresh assets. Hey, we're going to debut our trailer, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll chat with you in real time. I mean, that kind of stuff. I'm seeing that too. Like everybody's sort of. When I started at Activision, they were like, "Why is One of Sorts a website? .coms are dead. You've got to go Facebook." And I'm like, "You guys know they can change the rules at any time, right?" And as they've enacted things like people of a certain, if you were younger than 18 or 21 or something, then you couldn't be a fan of M-rated games like Prototype, which suddenly took a big hit. And Call of Duty lost like millions of fans because there was a lot of people that were fans of Call of Duty that were surprised were not actually M-rated people. And yeah, I was just like, I don't like the fact that somebody else is twiddling those dials the whole time. It screws it up. So yeah, you're going to see platforms come and go, but right now Facebook's on the decline.
We have time for one more very quick question.
Okay. Thank you very much for the validation on credit cards are upside down and ads. But,
we noticed these
a lot
things.
of the advice you gave today applies to all the different platforms. Do you have anything Instagram specific?
He was just asking why no one's talking about
why is nobody talking about Instagram? Because none of it, like, Instagram's like
what I stole from Dan is like when I put a new thing out, I do a video of like a cut of like my video, and that works okay.
And hashtag it.
Also pizza. That's what it all comes back to. Pictures of pizza.
One of our, our second video review was Titanfall. And what we did was we created an Instagram review, which basically was a fast cut of the game, like dude's neck was snapped, Titan blew up, and then the score, and then at the end it says full review on the website. Yeah. So you can use that to drive people there because that's such a visual platform that there's a reason Facebook bought that. Facebook is smart enough to know their back-end stuff is not going, but to grab a younger audience, Instagram is your home to grab teenagers and early 20-somethings.
Well, and people on Instagram are people on early 20-somethings.
Early 20-somethings.
Don't grab any teenagers.
PAX has rules about that.
Okay.
That's it. That'll be all for the panel today. Don't grab any teenagers. Thank you very much. Can we close on that, please?
Yeah, I think we should close on that.
Remember, kids, don't do drugs. Stay in school.
Thank you so much for coming. We really, really appreciate it, and we hope you learned some stuff and go out and use it.
Thank you. Please tell me we got that on video.